Semafor celebrating an anniversary today, marking 3 years since a new startup set out to reinvent how global audiences consume and trust information. Joining us now, Semafor co-founders, CEO Justin Smith, Editor-in-Chief Ben Smith. Only one understood when I said, did you bring any cough drops? You must be a little bit younger. Are you the younger of the...
Wow.
Are they not around anymore?
They're not around.
Smith Brothers cough drops are not... But they're not, you're not related.
We could bring them back.
He gave me some when we started Semaphore. So
he did. And you handle the news, you handle the business.
I do.
But you're here today, which makes me think, for the business, being on Squawk Box is such an important thing for the business you decided to show.
It is. And listen, thank you so much for having us, honestly.
Of course.
3 years tomorrow. To be a 3-year-old global news startup in 2025 and to be profitable is something that we're very, very proud of. And it's a moment that we are so thrilled to be here for. You know, the world is so unbelievably complex right now. This is what you cover every single day. And imagine being a CEO or a C-suite executive and how you're managing all this incoming change. And our view, Ben and I, when we started Semaphore 3 years ago, was that the traditional news platforms, newspapers and magazines and television channels were not necessarily built for this moment. And so what we did is we created new products that we thought were much better for these people. Number one, we went right to the question of partisanship and bias and polarization. Number two, it's a global world. And frankly, most of our American media and European media is quite parochial. They don't actually look into Asia and the rest of the world and see the interconnectivity. And lastly, we had this important insight, which a lot of traditional media do not get, which is everything needs to be short and concise and tight. But unlike others, we're short and deep and profound. And that's a really hard thing to do. It's a bit like cracking the code. Can you make content really concise, but also incredibly, incredibly deep and sort of cerebral? And I think that's what Semaphore has done across 3 years.
We can learn from that. Everyone.
I hope you're a reader.
I am, but the first thing I read about news was a Mervyn Block book called Writing Broadcast News Writing. Sharper, shorter,
deeper.
Strunk and white. It's like, one idea per sentence. People are at home doing the dishes. Don't use a $5 word if there's a nickel word that can describe what you're trying to say. Keep it in the active, subject, verb, object. And you guys try to do that, I think, philosophically.
It's also this straight up the middle piece. I mean, we had a conference yesterday in Washington with...
mainstream media always thinks they're straight up the middle. I think you could go to pre-Barry Weiss CBS. Dan Rather thought old CBS was right up the middle.
I do think a lot of the media took on this idea that the goal was to tell people how to think, and I think we think about for our audience, they want to understand how you think, they want to understand how the president thinks, they want to understand how the Democrats think. They aren't looking to us to say, this is how you should think.
No, they're looking to Hollywood. I do anyway. Mark Ruffalo tells me.
That comes true.
But usually I just want to see what he thinks.
Does it?
I was actually going to talk about Barry Weiss or CBS. And I was going to make the point that, Trump has gotten into the influence business on mainstream media. But something elected Trump. And that same group was looking at mainstream media and took it down to about 6% approval. So I don't know which came first, the chicken or the egg. I think there needed to be a catharsis or some type of shift. Maybe that's what you were trying to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you have those numbers that low, that's not Democrats or Republicans. That is everyone. I mean, there's a huge sense that the media... that people feel totally overwhelmed on one hand and just don't know what to trust on the other. And I do think, we are really trying to rebuild that from scratch, essentially, by being transparent with people.
Hey, just to kind of comment further on the return that we've seen in the futures.
Yeah.
There were some comments on Fox Business. President Trump talking about high China tariffs, asked if they will stand. He said no. And, he was saying, I think we'll be fine with China. And that could just, look, a lot is driven from the White House these days and from the administration. And you kind of watch it play out.
You saw over the weekend. Oh, yeah, don't worry about those. Don't worry about that 150%. You got to take his word for it. But I think we kind of have learned that he comes up with the worst case scenario, and that really is the way things turn out.
Yeah, this is, I think, kind of the level of complexity that your viewers and that we're all living with now. Where, and you and Carrie Firestone were talking about this earlier, that you have the markets here and you have Washington here, and these decisions being made in Washington are just constantly rippling through the business world in a totally new way.
The number of global CEOs that want to be in Washington these days is unbelievable. I mean, we've got an edition. Semafor has a new edition in the Gulf, and we also have an edition in Africa. We're launching a new edition in China and Asia soon. So we travel around these places, and literally everywhere we go, CEOs saying, we want to come to Washington. We want to come to Washington. So actually, one of the things we've done, which has helped us become profitable as a young company, is we built our company around convenings and convenings of CEOs. And so we have this convening called the World Economy Summit, which is against the backdrop of the IMF World Bank meetings every spring. It's now the biggest CEO convening in America. 200 of the Fortune 500 CEOs come in person. We expect to double that next April. And many of them are CEOs from Korea, from China, from Europe, where Washington, D.C., which has never happened before, is sort of stop number one on their global business travel calendar. It's a big, big change.
Amazing that you guys decided to do that and took the plunge. It's actually working. Congrats.
Well, do you like going to Switzerland every January, or would you prefer to come to Washington?
It's so funny that you said that, because I'm told that may be in the offing again. After I had a suggestion, that guy's gone, Klaus Schwab, right? What's wrong with instead of Davos, Canary Islands? Does anyone? No one is. You can't have the World Economic
Talk
Forum.
about trapping your audience.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. In warm weather with beautiful beaches. No, I think we're stuck, aren't we?
I think so.
Davos.